Alright, welcome to how to build a PAL. Today we're going to be looking at the process I go through when I'm deciding on the attacks that I want to use, a little bit with accessories maybe, and also some of the passives that I want to use. The first trick here is that I breed this Gobfin, for example, with the 4 rainbow passives that I want to try out. And then when you have it in your sort of normal PAL box in your party, you can change to Musclehead, Serenity, swap between Vampire, Demon God, all that stuff, and then you can just reset to this 4 passive one by just overwriting it like this, and then you're back to this 4 passive one. Then you can take it to the surgery table, swap whatever passives you want as you're testing things out. So the first thing to consider is what is the build really about, and in this Gobfin case we have 2 sides of the partner skill. We have when activated it attacks with an Aqua Gun. At 4 stars this Aqua Gun is boosted to 2.5 times the power, so a 100 power skill with 4-second cooldown. Pretty good right there. We're gonna be seeing how Lunker affects that as well a little bit, and what kind of loop we want to use to really maximize this Aqua Gun damage, which is what we're after. And then we have the second part, which is while in team it increases the player's attack power, and that's when you have this sort of decision between running 4 more Gobfins or running these sort of Kelpsies. So we're gonna start with just the Kelpsies to make the test a little bit easier, since we are running this Vampiric. So the first thing we want to see is just this Aqua Gun interaction against Saya and Celine. Alright, so you can see that's the Aqua Gun and then the Hydrojet. So the first one doing 6000 damage because it is that boosted skill doing 100 power, and then Hydrojet is like a 30 power skill or something. And then we can see when we use the partner skill it's still gonna be that sort of 6000 damage attack. So that's the first part, that they are shared. And then the second part that we want to avoid now is the PAL will use Aqua Gun and then the Hydrojet, and then just do this 4-second amnesia thing when it's not really attacking. So we want to avoid that either by using Serenity or by mixing in some other attacks that it uses instead. Sort of like that Holy Burst, Beam Slicer, Blast Cannon combo that I like to use against Victor. So now we're gonna add Thunder Spear. So this is a new skill fruit in Tides of Terraria. It is the basic filler attack for electric pals that did get a skill fruit. So we're gonna add that one, 2-second cooldown, 30 power. And now we're gonna see, just gonna let her do the beam. There we go. So this is still without Serenity. And we're gonna see how this Thunder Spear interaction works. It uses Thunder Spear, Aqua Gun, Thunder Spear. And no 4-second walk around time. So now it's skipping Hydrojet instead, and since it's using this Thunder Spear, it's also getting the Electrify bonus to deal that 12,000 damage with the partner skill attack, the Aqua Gun. So that part seems pretty good for just maximizing Aqua Gun damage. We just got these 2 skills, we replaced the filler skill with Thunder Spear, and then we have some other things to consider now. So since we might as well add any sort of attack here, so we can add Hydro Slicer. This won't affect anything with the basic filler attack because it's going to use the Hydro Slicer when it can, and then it's going to go back to this loop. So just adding that high power attack, no real issues there. So now, instead of Thunder Spear, we're going to take a look at how the loop looks with Aqua Gun, Hydro Slicer, and then Curtain Splash over Thunder Spear. So we will have Hydro Slicer, and then we're going to have this Wall Splash, unless you go... Yeah, it's a little bit bugged right now, Wall Splash. It's not really recommended. And now you can see it goes back to that other loop that is a little bit weaker when it uses that one, and then the Hydrojet, Aqua Gun, Hydrojet, 4-second walk around time, until it eventually uses Wall Splash and Hydro Slicer again. So what we want to test now is sort of which one of these builds is best, because if we're running this kind of build, you probably want Serenity instead. If we were running the other build, the one with Thunder Spear, then Serenity seemed to have 0 impact. So we're gonna test these builds with Musclehead, Serenity, and Lunker actually. So we have this Lunker skill here boosting water, but if we are running this like Thunder Spear instead, and Hydro Slicer I guess instead of Wall Splash, so if you're running this build, maybe Musclehead is better here. We also have the diminishing returns from the water support whistle coming out. We also have diminishing returns from all the bounty tokens down here. Some of them do the water boost, so we already have a couple of water boosts built into the PAL with the whistles and that kind of thing. So we're gonna try that out as well. And then the other thing is, when you do have these Kelpsies, they get baked into a sort of attack passives from skills. So if you're using Gobfins instead of Kelpsies or any other PAL, it's going to look a little bit different as well. So we're going to take a look at those numbers now. So, after letting Gobfin solo Saya and Celine a couple of times with these different builds, we can see that when we're using the booster pals, the Musclehead Thunderspear build wins out, and when not using any of those Kelpsies or anything like that, just the Gobfin fighting on its own, simulating if you're using like Gobfin plus 4 more Gobfins, it's still the Musclehead Thunderspear build winning out over that Lunker build. So just these diminishing returns, it feels like it runs into with the bounty tokens and all that stuff seem to matter quite a bit here. So here I feel like we've decided on the build that we want to use, which is this Musclehead build over Lunker with Demon God, with Legend, and then Vampiric is kind of optional. Like you can always do a lot of withdraw dodging and then you don't have to use Vampiric at all. If you're adding player damage, the Pal isn't really taking aggro and then you don't need Vampiric either. But it's a pretty good passive to just have around. Like the Pal will become pretty much unkillable, you don't have to micromanage it the same way. It lets you focus on other things, and the difference between having Vampiric and something like adding a Musclehead or a Lunker is only a couple of percentage of DPS added at the cost of removing a lot of quality of life stuff with Vampiric. So we're gonna be running this build that we have here with Vampiric, Demon God, Legend, and then replacing Lunker here with Musclehead. Okay, so now we've been through the surgery table, we've got Musclehead, we got Thunder Spear, Hydro Slicer, and this 100 power Aqua Gun. Quite a lot of attack on this Gobfin now with all these Kelpsies and the Mega Boost Gun. So this is what the build can look like if you're focusing on just PAL damage. I'm not going to be adding like Terra Prisma and Overheat Rifle for this one, it's just normal Saya and Celine to show what this build looks like now that we have sort of finalized it if you're focusing on PAL damage. So you get this sort of electrified, that's when you can pop in this Angry Shark for a little bit extra damage with that partner skill. It does send out an extra Aqua Gun, but most of these partner skills seem to have this sort of 4-second amnesia baked in. Bit unfortunate timing, they're missing the Hydro Slicer due to that knockback, so something worth mentioning with these smaller pals is that all pals in category extra small and small, they do get knocked over by certain skills that do have like this built-in knockover factor. Stuff like Fireball, Nightmare Ball, all those kind of ball skills really, and then a couple of others which do have this sort of knockover effect. So that's one of the other negatives I guess with those high power skills is it hurts a lot more when they miss or when they do get knocked over. Like if Saya jumps backwards and avoids the beam, if she stuns your pal just as it's using the attack, it hurts a bit more than just like missing a, I guess like an Aqua Gun or Thunder Spear that's just going to be used again in like 4 seconds. So there another knockover, missing another Hydro Slicer I believe. Maybe not, but no, that's the Hydro Slicer coming out here instead. So it's just a little bit of a drawback with those compared to running those like shorter cooldown skills. It's kind of what happened with Finside or Ignis as well, when they shifted a lot of the damage to that last bullet on Trigger Happy. Being knocked over has a lot more impact now. You're doing a lot less damage if you get knocked over before that last one comes out. So that's sort of what the build looks like now with all these Kelpsies in the mix. But overall, when you're using something like Gobfin, you do want to benefit from that secondary partner skill, which is that attack damage bonus for the player. So this is the same build here with the Kelpsies with the Mega Boost Gun against hard mode Bjorn and Bastigor. And the DPS is just about there. You do need to do quite a lot of withdraw dodging as well. And you can see it's like 7 seconds left on the clock or something when he does fall over. So overall, the DPS is there, but it isn't like if you were using something like Neptilius or something. But now we're going to be trying out these 5 Gobfins instead. Full on weapons here with legendary Terra Prismas. We got 2 legendary overheat rifles. So this is all about maximizing player damage while still running this attacking Gobfin instead of like just booster Gobfin. So it is the same build here, Hydro Slicer, Thunder Spear with that Musclehead. And we're just going to be swapping between 2 overheat rifles. So you can see when you're aiming down sight, you get this sort of bar. And if you swap just before, you never have to get this sort of overheat reload thing. And there is a sound, I'm not sure if you can hear it. My sound is pretty low here. I'm going to try to let you listen in here. So when it starts to overheat, you get this sort of, I don't know what to call it, like a high-pitched noise or something. So you don't have to aim down sight if you have the sound on. You can sort of listen when it starts making that noise. that's when you want to swap your weapon. I'll try to turn the volume up for that part where I wasn't really talking. But overall, like with this Terra Prisma, you can see that Björn is not attacking the Gobfin at all. It just got a little bit low at the start of the fight, and then it's slowly healing that up with that Vampiric. So that's what I meant with like, Vampiric is sort of a safety net. It's like a bad luck protection thing, because maybe Björn will try to attack you with a Hydro Laser that your Gobfin walks into. Glacial Impact can also hit multiple targets, and that's the why I'm not aiming down sight right there. Sometimes you accidentally swap to the Terra Prisma. If you're aiming down sight, all the swords disappear. Otherwise, aiming down sight is quite nice, but you do move a little bit slower. So Vampiric, you could have used Lunker, Musclehead, and skipped Vampiric completely, but it is a sort of safety net where the pal will take some damage at the start of the fight and then heal that up. So if it does get targeted by like a random Stone Beat or eats a random Hydrosticer that was meant for you, it won't die and the fight won't be over. And you're really, when you're adding all this like player damage and stuff, we're talking like maybe 1% damage, maybe even less. So 2 Terra Prismas to trade durability there, swapping between the overheat rifles. Maybe I wouldn't have needed to run the defense pendant on the Gobfin, but it's another thing with the safety net and diminishing returns there. Like if I add one more attack pendant, it's a very minor gain. Like you could have done defense if you wanted that. There's a lot of options here really with the accessories, but it's about like having the sort of safety net feature. The attack on the Gobfin a lot lower than when you're using that Mega Boost thing, but overall, adding Legendary Terra Prisma and Overheat Rifle just seems like the best bet with this sort of build. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.